Hello and welcome to my little practical about pH. So at Key Stage 3 we'll look at pH. We're talking about acids and alkalis, what's really acidic and what is alkalis. Alkalis usually are used to clean things, so at the moment a lot of the hand wash that we're using, a lot of the soap we're using are quite alkaline. Acids we find in our stomach. We've got like hydrochloric acid in our stomach, so sometimes when we have too many acidic foods it can cause sort of indigestion, it can cause quite a lot of upset. So it's really important we understand acids and alkalis for the things that we're putting in our body, things we're eating and things that we're using on our skin. One way to look at an acid and an alkali is to use an indicator. Now in lessons in school you will use universal indicator, and that's a chemical reagent that we can use that changes the colour. When we use universal indicator in the lab, this is exactly what we will get, is a pH rainbow. So this goes from really acidic to really alkaline, and it goes from red all the way up to purple. And you can see here some examples of different things you might find at home and what pH, what colour they would turn to show us whether they're an acid or alkali if we were to do this in a lab. At home, we haven't got a universal indicator to use, but we can use something else. We can make our own one using cabbage, and that's what I'm going to show you here. So to start with, I've just got a glass. You'll need some hot water. This makes the reaction happen a little bit quicker. You can use cold water, but this just speeds things up a bit. And you'll want some chopped red cabbage. Okay, now be careful because this can stain your hands, might turn your hands a little bit blue or purple, so try and handle it carefully. So what you're going to do is you're going to add some of your red cabbage into your glass. Okay. You don't need too much, just enough, because we're extracting the colour, the dye, from this. So now I'm going to add my hot water. And what you're going to do now is you're going to wait until the solution turns a dark purple. So this is where it is to start with. You can already see it starting to turn blue here. So I'm going to give it a stir. Okay. So after a while you should have this sort of dark blue, dark purple colour. I'll show you what that looks like. So here. So you can see it's really dark. Now that makes it a really useful indicator. Normally in the science lab you would be able to filter out the cabbage using filter paper. If you still want to do that step, you can do, you just need to use kitchen towel. I don't need to, because my chunks of cabbage are quite large. I'm not going to get any cabbage caught up when I try and pull out the liquid. So now I've got this is going to be my indicator. I need to be able to test different substances. So instead of a spotting tile, which I'd use in the lab, I have a little paint palette, and this works brilliantly for exactly what I want. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill each well with something that I have around the house. So I've got hand wash, and you only want a little bit. So for example, I've only put a little bit in there. I've got some lemon juice. I have some milk, toothpaste. Now this can be quite tricky. Sometimes you might want to water it down, but I'm going to try and mix it in with my indicator and see what happens. And then maybe I'll try something like a carbonated drink, a fizzy drink. Fabulous. So now I've got a few things to test. I need to pull out my solution and use that to test, and it will turn a certain colour. It's not the exact same as the pH scale, so you will be able to judge, and I'll give you a picture in a second of how to compare them. What I'm going to use is, instead of a pipette, which I'd have in the lab to collect small samples of water, I'm going to use a syringe. Now I've got these from things such as Nurofen, if your parents have medicine. Any sort of medicine that comes through, you can have a little syringe. If not, you can simply use a spoon. Just be careful because you're more likely to spill. So it's absolutely fine. I'm just going to use this because I want it to be as accurate as possible and it's good practice selecting correct equipment for your experiment. So I want some of my solution here. I'm going to draw it up. Oh, it's amazing. And again, that colour is fantastic. That's how you know you've got a really good indicator. And I'm going to add a little bit here. So first of all, to my lemon juice, my milk, not much change there. Here I have my hand wash, had to remember. Okay, a bit more. Then I'm going to add it to my toothpaste. And then lastly to my Pepsi Max. Okay. Now if they don't mix very well, again, use a spoon, give them a mix. Try not to cross-contaminate too much. So I still have some water here and I'm going to rinse my spoon every time I stir. So now I've got my results, I'm going to need to analyse them. So let's have a look at my picture and let's compare it to my pH scale. Okay, what we see here is the picture, the scale of our cabbage indicator. Now to start with, our cabbage solution with just the hot water sat around here. This is our neutral. So this is a purple colour. So if something is neutral, it's not an acid but it's not an alkali, it will appear purple. If what we've tested turns a more pink or reddish colour, we know that it falls down to the bottom end of the scale, which indicates it is an acid. If it turns a blue or a green, then we know that what we've tested is more of an alkali. So again, these are different colours to the pH scale, but they're working the same way. There's something for us to judge our solution against to say if it is an acid or an alkali. So let's look at our results. So I'm going to try and go with the most interesting ones and work along. So this first one here was lemon juice. That's the first one I added my solution to, my reagent, my cabbage indicator. Now this, I can tell based on the colour here, this colour is very similar to this one, which tells me it's sitting at about a pH 2. I can say that that is an acid, and that's correct. I know lemon juice is quite acidic. It's one of the citric acids. Then we look down here and we have our hand soap. Our hand soap, I'm a little bit surprised to be honest, because hand soap should be there to neutralise things. And this colour is very similar to this colour, which is pH 3. This is telling me my hand soap is an acid. Now I wasn't expecting that, so I might retest it to check that my method was correct, or I might then assume that the hand soap is no longer working as it should, and I might try and avoid that. Over here I had my milk. My milk hasn't really changed colour. Sometimes it's difficult when the solution is already coloured. If anything, I'd say it's moving towards a pH 5, which is nearly neutral, but again, can't be certain. This one here, which was my toothpaste, that one is quite neutral. If I look at that, I think the closest colour to that is 7. pH 7, so it's neutral, which is good. It's meant to be neutralising the acid that's sitting on my teeth from all the foods that I've eaten, so it is essentially doing its job. And then over here, again, quite tricky. My Pepsi to start with was a brown colour, so the colours aren't going to be so clear. You might want to test quite a few things, but this one I'd say is moving towards a pH 2 as well, which would be correct because I know it's quite acidic. So once I've tested one, I can go on and test as many different solutions that I have in my home as possible. One challenge for you would be to create your own pH rainbow by trying to find something of every pH. See what you can do.